This video was brought to you by MannCo.Trade. This site allows you to instantly trade off your unwanted TF2 items in exchange for other TF2 items. By adding MannCo.Trade to your name, you'll also receive a 2% bonus. Check them out in the description below. Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Joe and welcome to another video. Now recently I made a video called the most expensive hats for each class, and I went through the most expensive unusual items for each class that were only equipable as a hat, so not miscs or anything. However, a lot of people were actually asking if I could make a version with just unique hats, as they thought that's what the video is actually going to be about. So this video is going to be the most expensive unique hat for each class, so not unusual, not collectors, not haunted, only a unique hat. Now there are a few requirements for this list. First of all, it can only be a normal hat, it can't be a Halloween item or unusual, but we've gone past that. Also, it has to be a hat that isn't like Halloween restricted or anything like that. It just has to be literally a normal hat. It can only be a hat, it can't be a cosmetic or a face like misc or anything like that. It has to be a hat that goes on the head of the class. It can be unboxable or craftable, and the key prices will be converted into refined as well, just so you can gauge a rough idea. Now when I started doing this video previously, I actually realised a lot of the cosmetics were actually Halloween cosmetics. So let me know down below whether I should do a Halloween, like the most expensive Halloween cosmetics for each class, as that's definitely something I'd be interested in doing and finding out. And obviously Halloween is literally tomorrow, so it would be pretty good timing if I release that. I think I'm actually going to, but let me know down in the comments if you'd like that. And without further ado, we're going to be going in chronological order of how the classes appear in game. So the first off, we're going to be doing the Scout. So, the most expensive Scout cosmetic, or the most expensive Scout hat, is going to be the Lightning Lid. The Lightning Lid currently is 1.5 keys, which equates to backpack.tf price of 51 refined. Now, the Lightning Lid is an elite grade hat, so 1.5 keys for an elite grade is fairly cheap. However, I mean, I don't know, it's a really cool hat, but 51 refined really is quite cheap. I honestly expected it to be at least like double that, but I mean, hey, today's economy, you can never guess the prices of these items. It's so unpredictable, but I genuinely wasn't expecting the Lightning Lid to be the most expensive, you know. So moving on to the Soldier, I was actually going to feature the Soldier's Stash, as it's a bit more expensive than the cosmetic I'm featuring, or I was going to do the non-craftable Exquisite Rack, which is actually 2 keys. But then I thought to myself, I'm not going to be doing uncraftable items. I'm literally just going to stick to craftable, unique items. So the most expensive craftable unique soldier hat is going to be the Skull Cap, which is 15 refined. For those of you who don't know, the Skull Cap features a kind of similar silhouette to the Bill's hat. However, it is of course fully paintable, and on the front it has a picture of a skull as opposed to the badge that the Bill's hat possesses, and it's also a soldier exclusive. This hat was released in winter 2014, and you don't really see them unboxed anymore. I don't think the crates or the keys are even available to buy, but I mean, nonetheless, it's a really cool hat, but it's just too similar to the Bill's hat in my opinion. Like, I really like the skull on the front, but from a distance you're really not able to differentiate it clearly between that and the Bill's. Overall, it's a really cool hat though. I can think of a ton of loadouts you can fit this in, considering, you know, it's like a berry, a soldier's hat for the soldier. I'm sure you can put 2 and 2 together and think of some pretty cool loadouts. So coming up next for the Pyro, we actually have the most expensive item on the list, which kind of took me by surprise, you know. I wasn't expecting the Pyro to own the most expensive item on the list. Nonetheless though, we have the Combustible Cutie, which is 3 keys, which actually equates to 102 refined, which makes it by far the most expensive hat on the list, apart from one. I just remembered there's a really expensive one, but we're going to get into that later. So the Combustible Cutie is a assassin grade hat for the Pyro, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. It's like the unicorn head for the Pyro. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool hat, I'm not going to deny that, and it looks really interesting when featured with a lot of cosmetics. There is a bit of a clipping issue with the horn sticking out of the Pyro's head, which can be a bit of a practicality issue, but apart from that, it's fine. So guys, coming up next on the list, we've got the 4th hat we're going to be talking about, which is the Bruce's Bonnet. So for those of you who don't know, the Bruce's Bonnet is actually over 20 refined. Only just though, it's 20.22 refined. Now the Bruce's bonnet is a pretty cool looking hat in my opinion anyway. It's the Demo Man hat, and I really wasn't expecting it to be that cheap in comparison to all the other Demo Man hats, but it literally is the most expensive one that you can get in unique form. I know its unusual tier is pretty high, with Bonzo costing over 250 keys, however the unique version at just 20 refined is a bit of a shock to me. I was definitely expecting some higher prices for the Demo Man. Nonetheless though, you can fit this into a ton of loadouts. Just think of the chainmail, like you can make the Demo Knight loadouts with the armor, the Dark Age Defender, etc. You can make some really cool loadouts with this thing. It's just a really cool hat in general, and definitely deserves a spot on this list. So coming up next, we've got the Heavy hat, and I'm sure a lot of you probably foresaw that the Heavy hat was actually going to be pretty cheap in comparison to the rest, given that, I mean, in unusual form, it's often the same way, where the Heavies unusuals are much cheaper than the other classes, and it's no different in craftable hats. The most expensive Heavy hat that isn't a Halloween cosmetic or anything like that also happens to be an elite grade hat, being the Sucker Slug. And this elite grade Heavy hat costs just 16.33 refined, which is like half a key in today's economy. I just think that's so crazy, honestly. Like, it's a pretty cool hat. It's like an alien kind of sucking on top of the Heavy's head. That sounds so strange, but it's rooted onto the Heavy's head. It's really quite a questionable cosmetic. It's very fun though. It's a really fun cosmetic, and when you paint it, the outside of the eye, like the white bit, actually changes color, which is a really nice touch. However, I mean, it's an alien sucking on your Heavy's head, which can be a bit hard to make a loadout around, and that may explain the cheap price. And coming up next on the list, guys, we've actually got an Engineer hat that I really like, and I actually use this in my main loadout. I've got a strange version, however, this one doesn't disappoint in terms of price. We've got yet another elite grade hat, being the Flash of Inspiration. Now, the Flash of Inspiration is the Mad Scientist hat. When this came out, it was so hyped. Like, I was just thinking to myself, all the unusuals would be so like high tier when it was unboxed with this hat. And I mean, it doesn't really disappoint at 2.1 keys, which roughly equates to 71.4 refined. It's a pretty high price for a normal hat, but of course it is elite grade, it is unboxable, so I'm just going to assume the price is going to slowly decrease as generally unboxable hats do. It's really cool. I mean, I've managed to fit it into a loadout, although it's extremely extravagant. Like, it surprisingly goes well with a lot of cosmetics, and you can make some really cool wacky loadouts with it. It's just a really cool fun hat for the Engineer, and definitely deserves its spot on the list. So coming in at quite possibly the most shocking price on the list, we have the Medic hat. And this is genuinely, as far as I'm aware, the most expensive, like, craftable normal hat that isn't, like, glitched or anything like that. This is the most expensive Medic hat in the game right now. And it's the Berlin Brain Bowl, which is 7 refined. Okay? The most expensive Medic hat is 7 refined, which is just absolutely ridiculous to me. I mean, I was looking through all the hats. Most of them were either like cosmetics or went around like the body area or even the face. There was a couple kind of expensive like face regions. A couple non-craftables as well, but apart from that, the most expensive one really is just 7 refined, being the Berlin Brain Bowl, which is a pretty cool hat, don't get me wrong. I think it's like a mercenary grade that you can still unbox, so that explains its low price, but I'm just shocked by that. I really thought that'd be a more expensive Medic hat. Nonetheless, though, a pretty cool cosmetic, but I just really wasn't expecting it to be that low. So let me know in the comments if you guys were actually expecting the Medic to have its most expensive hat at just 7 refined. I'm gobsmacked, truly. But nevertheless, let's move on to the Sniper hat. So remember earlier when I said there was one very expensive hat in the list? This is that. Coming in at the Sniper's most expensive hat, we have the Smithmas Caribou, or Caribou, I probably said that wrong. It's like a severed reindeer head that wraps around the top of the Sniper's head. It's a very old cosmetic, and you could only obtain it a limited amount of time through crafting the Steam Holiday Sale 2013 badge. Now you may be thinking to yourself, it's like a limited hat, why is it featured in the video? I mean, it's a craftable unique hat, which basically fits all the specifications I was looking for. It's not a glitched item, it's not uncraftable, it's not unusual, it's a craftable unique hat. I mean, you can't get it anymore, admittedly, but it's still, like, you can still craft it against something else to make a unique hat, but I don't know why you'd do that. Either way though, this hat comes in at 31.5 keys, which equates to a whopping 1070.84 refined. So to put that into perspective, the second most expensive item, which was the 3 key pyro item, was 102 refined. So this is literally over 10 times more expensive than the most expensive pyro hat. I just find that so crazy. But nonetheless guys, let's move on to the final hat in the list. So guys, last on the list we actually have the fancy fedora for the spy. Now the fancy fedora in its craftable form is worth 12.66 refined, so in comparison to the last hat we had, it's slightly underwhelming. But nonetheless, that's a pretty good price, and it could be a bit cheaper like that medic hat. But guys, that's just about it for this list video. If you did enjoy, please do remember to leave a like and let me know your thoughts down below. Also, again, do let me know if you want to see that Halloween list. I definitely do want to give that a go, and try and get it out before kind of the end of the Halloween period, I suppose. So if you guys did enjoy that, once again, please do remember to leave a like. Thank you again so much for watching, and peace.